Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're zeroing in on a massive game. The Europa League Final, May 21st, San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao. It's Tottenham Hotspur against Manchester United.
Right.
And look, both teams, well, their Premier League seasons haven't exactly been stellar, right? 16th and 15th. But this final, it's huge. Silverware, obviously, but also maybe, just maybe, that Champions League spot.
Absolutely. It's way more than a consolation prize, isn't it? It's a potential game changer for next season. Finance, prestige, the lot. And it's funny, Tottenham have actually done the business against United in the league this season, won all three.
They have, yeah, 3-0.
But a final, neutral ground.
Yeah.
It's a totally different kettle of fish.
It really is. And their form coming into this is quite different, too. Spurs had that, well, fairly comfortable 5-1 aggregate win against Bodo Glimt in the semis.
Comfortable, yeah. But United, wow, they just blew Athletic Club away, didn't they? 7-1 on aggregate.
Totally dominant. And, crucially, still unbeaten in Europe this whole campaign.
That unbeaten run, it says a lot, suggests they've found a way to play in Europe, maybe a system that just clicks for them in this competition. Spurs showed their attacking threat definitely in their semis, but, 19 losses in the league.
Yeah, that does flag up potential defensive issues, doesn't it? Something United will surely look at.
For sure.
Okay, so tactically, Ange Postecoglou at Spurs, we expect the usual high-pressing 4-3-3, right? Aggressive, win the ball back high up.
Yeah, that's their game. Try and disrupt United building from the back, force those turnovers near the goal. Then you've got Ruben Amorim at United. He's been using that sort of evolving 3-4-3.
Right, which gives them a bit of defensive structure, but also width going forward.
Exactly. It can morph into a 5 at the back when they lose the ball, makes them hard to break down, and sets them up nicely for those quick counters.
So a real contrast in styles then. You can definitely feel the stakes. There's this sense, isn't there, that United have the momentum, especially after that huge semifinal win.
Yeah, that 7-1 sends a message. Huge confidence boost.
Well, for Spurs, maybe more desperation. That long wait for a major trophy.
That psychological side is massive. You can't ignore it. The pressure on Spurs to finally deliver is immense. But United, they'll be confident, sure, but they'll also remember those 3 league defeats against Spurs. Can't just write those off.
No, absolutely not. So for this deep dive, we're going to really get into the key player battles, the ones we think will decide this final. We'll look at the data, try and figure out a prediction, and understand those tactical details that could swing it. Let's kick things off with those crucial head-to-heads. Where do we start?
Okay, let's look at Tottenham's left side. Heung-min Son against United's Diogo Dalot. That could be electric.
Son, yeah. Captain, talisman, back from injury recently too.
Yeah.
Still 12 goals, 7 assists this season. Pretty good going. And Football Best Moments really highlighted his impact in that semifinal win. Always capable of that killer pass, averages about 1.8 key passes per 90.
He really is. But Dalot, on United's right, as a wingback, he's versatile. Does his defensive work, 2.1 tackles, 1.5 interceptions per 90. But he gets forward, too. 2.4 progressive passes per 90. Got that assist in the semi. He's a proper dual threat,
Definitely. And that's why this battle is so key. Son's pace, his dribbling about 1.8 attempts per 90, could he exploit the space Dalot leaves when he bombs forward? We sort of saw hints of that in Spurs' 3-0 league win, didn't we?
We did. But Dalot showed he can handle tricky wingers. Football Best Moments pointed out how well he did against Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao in their semi.
Yeah, good point.
So Dalot's positioning, his timing, and the tackle, that's got to be spot on to contain Son. I mean, Son's goal threat maybe gives Spurs a slight edge there individually, but Dalot's defense and United's overall 3-4-3 shape, it gives him support. It might just come down to a moment of brilliance from Son, or Dalot just managing to shut him down completely.
Okay, let's shift to the middle. The engine room. Bruno Fernandez for United versus Yves Bissouma for Spurs. Classic clash.
Yeah, this is where the game's tempo could be set, I reckon. Fernandes, oh, well, he's the main man for United, isn't he? Captain, creator. The stats are just wow. 8 goals, 12 assists, 4.0 key passes per 90 minutes. Incredible. And he ran the show in that 7-1 semi-final demolition. Plus, you can't forget the set pieces.
Oh, yeah, the set pieces. What was it? 85% success rate? That's a massive weapon.
Huge. He can unlock a defense from anywhere. But Bissouma's job is to stop exactly that. He gives Spurs that defensive shield. Good numbers, too. 2.3 tackles, 1.7 interceptions per 90. And his pressing was vital in their semi, according to Football Best Moments.
True, but hasn't Bissouma sometimes struggled a bit against really top creative players in the past?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Fernandes, with those 4 key passes per 90, he's exactly the kind of player who could cause Bissouma problems. Football Best Moments mentions something like a 35% dual loss rate for Bissouma against elite playmakers, so he needs to be right on his game, especially stopping Fernandes getting those set-piece deliveries in. They account for, what, about a third of United's goals?
A third?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Bissouma's role is absolutely critical. Can he limit Fernandes' influence?
It feels like the edge here might just be with Fernandes in United, given his form and those stats. The decider is probably whether Bissouma can effectively shadow him, cut off those passing lanes. If Fernandes finds space, could be trouble for Spurs.
Agreed. Right, let's look up front now. Tottenham striker, Dominic Solanke, he's been on fire against United's Lisandro Martinez at the back.
Solanke, yeah, he's really hit form in the knockouts. Scored in 3 straight games, 5 goals total, plus 3 assists. Gets good shots off, too, 0.7 expected goals per shot.
Oh, yeah.
And his hold-up play, those off-ball runs, about 1.5 per 90, they help bring others into play.
He's been vital. Then you've got Martinez, the butcher, key defender for United, 1.9 clearances, 1.6 tackles per 90, but, and it's a big but, that injury concern, potential season ender.
That's the huge question mark, isn't it? Football Best Moments noted he showed resilience in the semi, played through it maybe, but is he actually fully fit for a final?
Exactly. Because Solanke's physicality, his current scoring streak, that's going to properly test Martinez, especially if he's not 100%. Remember that 3-0 Spurs win earlier? United's defense struggled then. So while Martinez's clearance rate is good, Solanke's knack for finding the net in big games is undeniable.
It really is. If Solanke gets the upper hand, Spurs look dangerous. If Martinez is fit and on form, United's defense looks much more solid.
So the edge here really hangs on Martinez's fitness, doesn't it? If he's fit, United have a top defender. If not, Solanke's form gives Spurs a serious advantage up top. It basically comes down to Martinez's condition versus Solanke's hot streak.
Okay, another interesting one in midfield, maybe slightly wider. Mason Mount for United against Pedro Porro for Spurs.
Yeah, this is interesting because of the space it could create. Mount's had a bit of a resurgence lately, hasn't he? 2 goals off the bench in the semifinal, brings energy, dynamism. Stats show at 1.9 dribbles, 2.0 tackles per 90.
He does. And Porro on the right for Spurs. He's almost like an extra attacker from fullback. Averages over 2 key passes per 90, gets crosses in, even scored in the semi. Vital for their attack. But as Football Best Moments pointed out, that attacking intent, it can leave gaps behind him defensively.
Precisely, and that's where Mount could potentially hurt Spurs. Exploiting that space, Porro leaves when he bombs forward. We saw United use the flanks really well in that 7-1 semifinal win. Porro's attacking output is great for Spurs, no doubt. But defensively, one-on-one against someone like Mount with his dribbling and work rate, that could be a real test for him.
It feels like Mount's recent impact gives United a slight edge here, potentially. Especially if you can exploit Porro being high up the pitch. So the decider is, can Mount make Porro pay for his attacking runs, or does Porro's contribution going forward just outweigh any defensive weakness?
It's a fine balance. Okay, last key battle, but definitely not least, the goalkeepers. Guglielmo Vicario for Spurs versus Andre Onana for United.
Yeah, keepers in finals. Off in the Euros, aren't they? Vicario's got a decent save percentage, 73%. 2 clean sheets in the semis, too. He's got presence, 6'3", and apparently a 68% success rate in one-on-ones. Solid.
Onana.
Slightly better save percentage, 75%, and 3 clean sheets in the semis for him, also 6'3". He was obviously key in that big semifinal win, too. Football Best Moments really stressed how important both keepers were in getting their teams here.
Absolutely. In a final that could be really tight, one save could make all the difference. Both were great in the semis, and apparently they both have the same penalty shootout win rate, 50% each.
Wow, really? Okay, so it could literally come down to penalties, and even then it's a coin toss between them. I mean, Onana has the slightly better stats overall in the semis, save percentage, clean sheets, so maybe a tiny, tiny edge to United there.
Maybe. But Vicario's shown he's top quality, too. It feels like the deciding factor here really could just be who makes that save, in normal time, extra time, or in a shootout. Couldn't agree more, so let's just pull back a bit. Tottenham, 5-1 semi wins, 17 goals in the competition, high press, 4-3-3, rely on Solanke, but those 19 league losses still linger. Suggests defensive frailty, maybe?
Yeah, and United, unbeaten in Europe, 16 goals scored, but only conceded 1.0 per 90 on average. That's impressive. Massive 7-1 semi-win. Fernandes, Mount hitting form. Their defense in Europe looks really solid.
So quick recap. Spurs 5-1 ag, 17 goals for, 1.2 against per 90. United 7-1 ag, 16 goals for, only 1.0 against per 90. And Football Best Moments mention Opta gives United the slightest edge probability-wise, 50.7% to 49.3%.
Tiny margin. So it really reflects how close this could be.
Absolutely. In those battles we talked about, Son versus Dalot, Fernandes versus Bissouma, Solanke versus Martinez, a fit, Mount versus Porro, and the keepers, they all feed into this tight narrative. Each one could swing the momentum.
Right. So after digging into all of that, the big question, prediction time. What are you thinking?
Okay, putting it all together, the data, the matchups, I'm leaning towards maybe a 2-1 win for Manchester United. I just feel Fernandes will be heavily involved, maybe gets a goal, sets one up for Mount perhaps. I do think Solanke scores for Spurs, though. He's in that kind of form.
Okay, 2-1 United. That actually matches the highest probability result from Football Best Moments analysis. They gave that a 50% chance. Their reasoning, pretty much what you said. United's strong European form, that semifinal momentum. They specifically predict Fernandes scoring from a set piece, assisting Mount. Solanke scoring, but Martinez assuming he's fit, doing enough defensively. And Onana making key saves. Tactically, they see Amorim's 3-4-3 maybe frustrating Spurs press effectively.
Yeah, that sounds like a very logical path to victory for United based on everything. But didn't Football Best Moments also suggest a Tottenham win was pretty plausible? Like 2-1 after extra time? What was the probability on that?
Yeah, 35% probability for Spurs winning 2-1 in extra time. The narrative there is built on Spurs' 3-0 season series lead over United, plus their own good semifinal form. In that scenario, Son scores twice, maybe exploding Dalot pushing forward. Solanke gets an equalizer at some point, set up by Porro, maybe taking advantage if Martinez isn't fully fit. Mount might score for United, but Vicario comes up big with saves. And tactically, Postecoglou's press eventually wears United down, with Bissouma managing to keep Fernandes quiet.
Right, so two quite compelling but different potential stories for the final. It really highlights that United's European form and defense versus Spurs' head-to-head record and attack is the core tension. And Martinez's fitness, it just looms over everything, doesn't it? Could genuinely swing it either way.
It really could. And you mentioned fatigue earlier. Could that play a part? United maybe having had more games recently, Spurs potentially fresher.
It's possible, yeah. Another variable to throw in. And set pieces, like we said, Fernandes is lethal, but Spurs can score from them too. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out.
So expected game plans. Seems pretty clear. Stirs. High press 4-3-3. Get Son and Solanke running at the defense. Use Porro's crosses.
Yep. And United, probably a bit more cautious. Maybe that 3-4-3 is sitting a bit deeper, soak up pressure, then hit fast on the break with Fernandes, Mount, maybe others. It's just set up beautifully for a really tactical, engaging final.
It really is. So we've gone deep into the battles, the tactics, the predictions. We're leaning towards that 2-1 Manchester United win, but we absolutely see the path for a Tottenham victory, possibly in extra time. So here's a final thought for you listening. Thinking about their league struggles versus this European run. Could this final be a real turning point for either club's future, whatever the result? And maybe more to the point, which single-player matchup do you think will be the absolute key to deciding who lifts that Europa League trophy in Bilbao?